Okay, let me start this video by saying that I'm a Bottas fan. Well, was a Bottas fan. Well, actually, I don't think I ever was a fan, more so a supporter. Let me explain why. Today we're finally talking about Valtteri Bottas, and now is a good time as any to start evaluating his Mercedes career, in what might be his last year in said team, if not in F1, with Russell impatiently waiting to take his spot. Bottas' move into the world of F1 racing happened after a decently successful junior career, having won both the 2008 Formula Renault Eurocup and the 2008 Formula Renault Northern European Cup. He moved up into the Formula 3 Euro Series for the 2009 season, where despite not winning a single race, he finished third in the championship. In 2010, he signed as a developer driver for the Williams team, a role which he held for 2011 and 2012. He also finished third again in F3 Euro Series. For 2011, along with his F1 Williams testing duties, he contested on the second ever season of the GP3 Championship, where he took the title with one round to go. For 2012, he only did testing for F1, and in 2013, at the age of 23, he replaced Bruno Senna and partner Grand Prix winner and overall racing legend Pastor Maldonado on a one-year deal. It was the last season before the regulation change and Williams was going through a rough time. He finished ahead of his teammate in the championship after qualifying in a strong 9th position in the US Grand Prix and finishing one place ahead come race day, after Pastor crashed of course. Those 4 points were the only ones he scored all season. The only other highlight that year was when he qualified on third after he unlocked some surprise pace for the Canadian Grand Prix. But in the end, the car just wasn't there for the race. He finished 14th and a lap down on Sunday. On November 2013, he was confirmed to continue into the new era of Williams Mercedes alongside Felipe Massa, who was replaced at Ferrari by Kimi Raikkonen. From the first race, it was clear to see which power unit was the fastest. The two Williams were at the back of the top 10, and after a first lap collision put Massa out of the race, Bottas would make his way through the field and even after stopping to repair a puncture, managed to finish 5th. Well, 6th, but Ricciardo ahead was disqualified and thus 5th. The following races would give a handful of solid point finishes, and from Austria on, the team would step on the podium on 9 out of the remaining 13 races, starting with a pole in said race, the only time a non-Mercedes driver was on pole all season. So, Austria 3rd, Great Britain 2nd, Germany 2nd, Belgium 3rd, Russia 3rd. The final double podium in Abu Dhabi helped them achieve the 3rd position in the championship, the highest they had finished since 2003, and Bottas would finish 4th with 186 points to Massa's 134. This was a stellar year for the team. After the banger that was 2014, 2015 would be a much quieter season. Williams was beat by giant Ferrari on the development race. There were more competitive cars and having the best engine just didn't cut it anymore. At the opening race in Australia, he qualified 6th but injured his back during the session. He was taken to hospital for precautionary checks where he was diagnosed with soft tissue damage to his lower back and was not medically cleared to race. 4th and 5th positions would be the standard throughout the year, with 2 podiums in Canada and Mexico being the highlights. He'd once again finish ahead of his experienced teammates on the overall standings, but it was clear that there was something wrong within the team. 2016 was a further drop off in pace. They were still consistently on the points, but on the latter end of them. A podium at Canada was a nice surprise, but unfortunately the only one all season. He finished 8th in the Drivers' Championship, once again ahead of teammate Massa's 11th place. He also qualified him 17-4. But it was quite clear that the Williams ship was sinking. After 2016 champion Rosberg announced his surprise retirement at the FIA prize-giving ceremony, there was a big seat to fill at the 3-time champion team. Team boss Wolff agreed to bring on Bottas, but only if he agreed to be dropped from his management. Yes, Bottas was managed by Wolff. The opportunity was finally there. Valtteri was in a championship-winning car for 2017 and was sure he could challenge for it. After 2 podiums in the first 3 events, his championship stance was looking good, and the 4th event was the Russian Grand Prix, where he'd take his maiden win and stomp on the ground. If you don't think you can win, you should stay at home. Getting that first win gives you a lot of confidence that you can do it, even though I always knew I had the ability. It's not going to be that simple this year, it's going to be a massive fight. He held on initially, but soon after, Hamilton took 5 wins in 6 races after Belgium. He just took the championship with 3 rounds to go. Personally, I thought he did quite well for his first season at the top team and against 3-time champion Hamilton. Maybe next time he would be able to challenge for the title. 2018 was just a disaster, with a puncture ruining the lead he had on Baku and arguably unnecessary team orders leading to a 2nd place on Russia after conceding the win to Hamilton. He finished 5th with almost half the points of champion Lewis. He was never even close to mounting a championship challenge. 2019 brought us Valtteri 2.0. Porridge and a beard after going rallying during the winter helped him clear his mind and get back on the championship winning mentality. With squabbles between the Ferrari drivers and a rattled team over at Red Bull with Ricciardo leaving, it was all to play for between the 2 Mercedes. Australia came and after being outqualified he just went and won the race, leading the championship for the first time in his career. For Bahrain he ultimately lost out to a fast Hamilton, but after Baku they were 2 wins apiece. That would be as good as it got though. For Spain he got 2nd place and we were expecting a bounce back the following race. A bounce back that never came. 3 races later Hamilton had won 6 races to his 2 and Bottas was already 36 points, 11 points over a race win behind. Even though he won at Japan and the USA later on, it was just too late. He was the only contender and was mathematically eliminated from the championship at the 3rd to last event, even after winning it. Bottas ended the season with 326 points to Hamilton 413. That's almost 3.5 full wins behind. At the beginning of the season, let me tell you, I was quite pumped. I honestly thought he could still win it up until the 6th or 7th race, where I started to lose hope. Hamilton then proceeded to use him to wipe the floor with some masterful racecraft that led us to think he was just on another level. For this next part, I'm going to hand it over to Zach from the Apex.
So I have talked at great length on my own F1 YouTube channel, good and bad, about Valtteri Bottas, and apparently I feel so strongly about this driver that I felt the need to intrude another person's YouTube channel to give you all my views on our favorite Finns. So, here we go. Now 2020 was a massive opportunity for Valtteri Bottas to finally get a good start to a season and then continue it like he could have done in 2019 but decided not to. And we just fast forward to the actual start of the 2020 season. Valtteri was off to a good start. He was out there spraying the champagne while Hamilton finished in 4th due to a penalty, with Hamilton then claiming victory the next round out. So they were 1-1 on wins to start out the season. You know what? If I'm Valtteri Bottas, I'm waking up in the morning, that's not a bad situation to be in now, is it? But then he just decided to finish behind Lewis the next 5 races and find himself in a 50-point deficit to his soon-to-be knighted teammate. Yikes. 2 race wins at the midpoint of the season. At that point, we all kind of had the feeling we knew where this was going. We've been here before, and we were just waiting for the same thing to happen. Another year and another world championship essentially lost before Bottas could even have a chance to blink, losing out to Lewis Hamilton by 124 points, which coincidentally is 1 point fewer than Sergio Perez's entire point total for the season. And speaking of Sergio Perez, Sakir 2020, the 2nd race at the Bahrain International Circuit. Lewis Hamilton out of that race due to the thing I don't want to name. George Russell pops himself into that Mercedes. For Valtteri Bottas, it should be a walk in the park. He's been in that car for years. George has never been in a situation of high stakes in Formula One. Should be easy, right? But no. George actually ended up nearly taking pole position on the Saturday and then thoroughly outraced Bottas in equal machinery on the Sunday. But now we're in 2021, which doesn't even feel real to say at this point, but Bottas is off to his worst start since 2018, and I had faith going into the season that he would be able to do something. But at this point, after every single season coming up short, I think it's just Bottas' destiny. There will not be a Bottas 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7.0, because let's just face it, I think the writing's on the walls. He's going to be out of there as soon as it is convenient for Mercedes. But thank you all for listening to me in what I know is a very weird Canadian accent. At least I'd never said aboot. We never got to that point. But speaking about Canada, even though this isn't about Lance Stroll, that is my horrible segue back to the rest of this video. See ya!
You can also think of this whole situation as a byproduct of his bad luck, plus Hamilton's indestructible military-grade armored luck aura. Not only does he routinely beat the odds, but whenever he doesn't, it's a disastrous weekend for Bottas, via bad luck or just lack of pace. Let's go over a few examples. At the 2017 Monaco Grand Prix, Hamilton qualified in 14th. He struggled warming up the tires and his final flying lap in Q2 was impeded by Stoffel van Dorn, who had crashed near the end of the session. Bottas qualified 3rd and finished 4th, while Hamilton made his way up to 7th. At the 2018 Azerbaijan Grand Prix, after having a successful overcut and being in the lead, the debris from the Ricciardo Verstappen incident gave him a puncture with 3 laps to go, handing Hamilton the win. At the 2018 Austrian Grand Prix, Bottas qualified on pole and ahead of his teammate, but retired on lap 14 due to a hydraulics problem. Lucky for him though, Hamilton retired on lap 64 with a fuel pressure problem. Still, no points from a rare Hamilton DNF. After a 3-place grid drop at the 2019 Austria Grand Prix for Lewis, Valtteri started from 3rd and managed to finish, well, 3rd and 19 seconds off the lead. At the 2019 German Grand Prix, after Hamilton miraculously recovered from a crash into a wall, and after getting a severe penalty, Bottas just had to keep it clean. Instead, he went into the wall after running over just a bit of a wet line on the pit straight while gunning for 3rd and botching it completely. His teammates scored 2 points that day. Team orders at the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix would see Hamilton emerge in front of him after a bad strategy call made Lewis lose 4 places. At the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix, after Hamilton's penalty dropped him to 7th at the checkered flag, Valtteri was nowhere to be seen, having DNF'd on lap 51 or 71 due to an oil pressure problem. Sakir 2020 was an event Hamilton couldn't even get to due to COVID, so it was all to play for. Pole on Saturday, but poor driving plus a strategy fuck-up meant he finished 8th. Italy 2020 was a really tough one for Hamilton, who had to make his way from the back all the way up to 7th in half the race distance, while Bottas had a poor start, dropped to 5th, and stayed there until the end of the race. Monaco 2021 is the latest casualty as of recording, where Leclerc's quali crash meant Bottas started in effective P2 while Hamilton on P6. He was battling for the lead until his wheel nut decided he wanted to become one with the car when the torque points just shaved right off as the nut was cross-threaded. These are just the highlights I could remember, and honestly I become tired of being disappointed year after year. This is by no means Hamilton's or to some extent Bottas' fault, but it comes back to what I said on the Russell video. It's one of the biggest predicaments on the grid. It's either to keep Valtteri, I have no idea how or why, but he still has hopes of winning a championship someday, Bottas, or bring in Russell, who is wasting his most important years at the back of the grid. Can a driver be world champion? No? If that's the case, he shouldn't be wasting a top seat. What do you guys think of the whole Bottas situation? Should he still be at Mercedes? Do you think he's got something to show that we haven't seen so far? Let me know in the comments below. You know I try to respond to every single one of them. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to Zach for being part of this video. He creates some amazing content I thoroughly enjoy, and I think you should all absolutely give it a look if you haven't already. Link in the description. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing and don't forget to like the video. Thanks to the History of Sport for being a top tier patron, and as always I will see you all next time.